A very good evening to all of you. Namaskaram. At the outset, as always, my gratitude to the organizers of Tattvaloka for giving me yet another opportunity to speak here. Those of you who have been attending this series regularly know that we have been through very many months of art and architecture of the Vijayanagara Empire till last month. In fact, when we spoke about the Chennakeshwara temple in a place called Somapalam. During the pandemic, whole of 21 and 22, for reasons of my own, I didn't have lectures in Tattvaloka. But before that, for more than 2 years, every month, there was the series on Vijayanagara history, which concluded last month. So we've decided now to begin a new series on ancient temples of Tamil Nadu, which will include lesser known temples and the better known ones as well. Lesser known ones, more of the lesser known ones perhaps, initially, and then the famous ones. The reason is because, there are so many ancient historic temples in Tamil Nadu. In every part of Tamil Nadu, stone's throw from where we are, and we don't realize their importance. For example, everybody knows about this. This is the famous Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple. It's called Gangaikonda Cholishwaram, built in the 11th century in the reign of Rajendra Chola. But this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's under the care of the Archaeological Survey of India. It's a protected monument of national importance. So since this is on the screen, you probably thought I'll be talking about it. No. So we are going to this temple. It's in a village called Gangaikonda Cholapuram. It's called Gangaikonda Cholishwaram. It was built in the reign of Rajendra Chola, and you can reach it hardly 2 hours from here. But not many people know about it. So this is a lesser known temple. Gangaikonda Cholishwaram. Imagine, it's the same name as the one in that that's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Not a soul visits this temple. Not a soul. Nobody even knows it's there. Nobody goes. There is worship though. It's under the care of the Archaeological Survey of India because it's a very important historic temple. So that's why it's so beautiful. It's maintained by the ASI. The stone is granite. It's a protected monument of national importance under the ASI. Seems like this board itself needs some protection. So if you can read through this, despite the bars that are there, it'll tell you Shiva temple in Kooramandal. That's the village. On route from Kanchipuram to Vandavasi. And this temple, it says, was built by Ishana Shiva Pandita, the spiritual guru of Rajendra Chola I. This village used to be known as Gangaikonda Cholapuram and the deity as Gangaikonda Cholishwarar. This stone temple consists of a 3-storied Vimana, an Ardhamantapa and a Mukhamantapa, and all the sculptures adorning the niches belong to the period of Rajendra Chola. Completely a Rajendra Chola monument. So who was this Ishana Shiva Pandita who built this temple? He was the spiritual guru of Rajendra Chola. So we know of these Chola kings, many kings, even the Pallavas, Vijayanagara, all of them had spiritual gurus, mentors who guided them on various things. So in Chola inscriptions, there are names of very many spiritual gurus. For example, another very important Shiva temple, Chola Shiva temple, is called the Kampahareshwara temple in a village called Tribhuvanam, which is near Kumbakonam. It's also known as the Sharabeshwara temple because the image of Sharabeshwara there is very important. And there it was consecrated by the guru of Kulotunga Chola III called Ishwara Shiva. So the names of many, many gurus of the kings are available to us, and this one was such. But he called it Gangaikonda Cholishwara in honor of King Gangaikonda Chola, that's Rajendra Chola I, and this village came to be called Gangaikonda Cholapuram. Now, what we need to see in this picture, in this photo, is that The entire temple is made of stone. It's an all granite temple. Now, what's so special about that is the question on all your faces. You see, this part of a temple, which is where the main deity is here, that part of a temple is called a Vimanam. And if you go to most temples, go to any temple that you know, till here or till here at least, it will be of stone. The top part in many temples is made of brick. Here it is completely of stone. All the sculptures right up to the top are made of stone. There is some worship over here, very neatly, very beautifully maintained by the Archaeological Survey of India. But despite that, over time there has been so much neglect before it became a protected monument that you see in the campus of the temple very many broken sculptures like these, but they have been kept very safely. This is Surya with a lotus in each hand and a mandala around his head. So this is the all stone Vimanam that you see. I'll be taking you around the temple. This is such a typical example of a completely Chola temple without any additions. What do you mean by without any additions? If you go to the Tanjavur Brihadishwara temple, any book, any article, any site on the net will tell you, yes, it was built by Rajaraja Chola the first in the 11th century. But you see, that's correct and not fully correct. The main sanctum and the two gopurams, the compound wall, and some other parts of the Tanjavur temple were built in the time of Rajaraja Chola. But many other parts have come up much later. For example, the Nandi Mantapam, the Subramanya Swami sanctum, the present Ganesha sanctum, so many others, the Brihanayaki Amman Sannadhi, that is 14th century. So many of these structures in the Tanjavur temple have come up at a later period. In the Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple, the UNESCO World Heritage Monument, it's almost completely of the time of Rajendra Chola. This also is like that, just a gem from the Chola period, 11th century, sitting there. And so beautiful is this. So we'll go around it. As you enter the main sanctum, you have two Dwarapalakas, and then between the wall, top of the wall over here, and the ceiling, you have a series of Shivaganas. All temples have them. It's just that we don't notice them. They're always looking down on us, looking at us. So they are dancing, singing. They're always happy, these Shivaganas, in the houses of their masters, their Lord and Master, Shiva. They're all over there on top, each in a different pose, each laughing. So this is how big the Dwarapalaka is, fairly large, a temple in active worship. These are the two Dwarapalakas on the outside as you enter. And we are now going to do a pradakshinam of this temple from the outer prakaram. The Cholas were very well known for these pierced stone windows. See, this is one piece of stone that they have taken and they have made these holes. Look, perfection. We'll see more of those. Complete and total perfection. As we go around the temple, these are what are called the Deva Koshtas or the niches. Koshta, niche for the gods, Deva. And you will see Ganesha first, as in all the temples. There he is. And then these are a line of yalis, very Chola, very Chola. They go around the temple in a line. And you have all these, all that I'm showing you is about not more than a foot in size. I've zoomed it here. Lovely Chola images. These are some things that we miss seeing when we go to a temple because they'll be at the height of our knee, ankle sometimes. Look at the imagination of these sculptors. After the Ganesha shrine, we are coming to this image of Shiva. This is called Bhikshatana Murti. Many of you know this, many may not. And this is when Shiva is said to have plucked off the fifth head of Brahma, and therefore he was afflicted by a sin, and in order to get rid of the sin, he went through a forest called Darukavana, where many sages were meditating, and he went as a mendicant with nothing to wear, except that he was accompanied by a Shivagana, and in his right hand he always has a couple of leaves which are eaten by a deer. That is how the Bhikshatana Murti looks always. And it is said that the rishis were contemplating on Shiva, and the rishi patnis were so awestruck by Shiva, that they were lost in admiration of this great Lord. Unfortunately, here in this temple, in this village, Kuramandal, while the sculptures are very nice, they don't seem to have been perfectly finished. What you have in the Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple, there, the main one, is not here. First of all, because that was built by the Emperor of South India, and this was built by a guru who didn't have those resources. Dakshinamurti is there. We are going around the temple. Say, in this small space, look at how they have managed to put an elephant and turning around as well. These are little things. If we notice, our trips to temples will be so much more worthwhile. Another one like this. I keep going, and then we come to Mahavishnu in one more niche over here, like this. And it's just that this village is a little difficult to access, so we don't go there and we don't pay attention sometimes. Inscriptions are here of the Chola period, detailing so many activities, and also of the later time of the Vijayanagara times as well. That's Mahavishnu here. And then you have Lingodbhava Murti. Everybody knows this. When Shiva became one huge pillar of fire, and Vishnu went down in the form of a Varaha, boar, clearly seen over here, and Brahma went up in the form of a swan, over there you have, and Brahma came down and lied that he had seen the top of Shiva's head, and Vishnu came up and admitted that he hadn't seen the feet, and so Vishnu was blessed and Brahma was cursed never to have a temple of his own. We keep going around the temple, and then we find an image of Brahma himself, the creator. This is the top of the Vimanam over here. We keep going around till we come to many more inscriptions so precisely etched on the walls. They are all in Tamil. They are all in the Tamil script of the Chola and the Vijayanagara times, like this. And then we go to a shrine for goddess Durga, taking you around each and every part of the temple, like this. And then Durga, very much in worship and very Chola. Mahishasura Mardini, with her feet on the head of the slain Mahishasura. So this is your Kuramandal temple, and we are coming around doing a full pradakshina. We come across a Nandi. He's been here from the time of Rajendra Chola. There is no roof above his head. He's seen him, the Guru come and go. He's seen us come and go. This is an entrance through which Nandi directly sees the Shivalinga inside. Beautiful Nandi. And then this is the temple per se. A small little temple sitting there, and high up on the Vimanam you have all these sculptures. One more Dakshinamurti facing south. A little bit of damage has happened, but nevertheless. And strewn in the main compound you have this also. Can you see? This is Durga, and this is Mahishasura. Unfortunately, this temple has seen bad days, but luckily now it's a protected monument. So this is how the temple looks. Small little temple built by Ishana Shiva Pandita for Shiva in the name of Rajendra Chola, Gangaikonda Cholishwaram. In the same village, it's called Kurampandal. It's been changed to Kuramandal. And there is another little temple for Vishnu, and it's called Sri Devi Bhudevi Sameta Peshum Perumal. This is a new name. It's not the old name. Unfortunately, we don't have inscriptions in this temple. It has been completely modernized, as you see here. But scholars who have studied the layout of this village understand that in the Chola times, this village has been so constructed that according to the Agama Shastras, where the Shiva temple should be is the Shiva temple for Gangaikonda Cholishwarar, and where the Vishnu should be is this temple for Peshum Perumal. But I think this temple had also fallen on very bad days once upon a time, and it has been renovated. The Samprokshanam, the Kumbhabhishekam of this Vishnu temple took place about approximately 15 years back. But unfortunately, all these glazed tiles have come into the main sanctum and other parts of this temple. My photograph does absolutely no justice. They allowed me to take this photograph, thankfully. But this is a very huge image of Vishnu over here. It's more than 5.5 feet in height, with Shankar Chakra, Abhaya Hasta, and this is Kati Hasta or Gada Hasta, as though he's keeping his hand on a mace. This is how it is. The problem is, many of these great architects and sculptors didn't leave their names behind at all. But here we are. So, what to do? So this is the Utsava Murti over here, all under glazed tiles. And this is how this temple looks from the outside. Completely painted, almost completely new. But we do know that this is an ancient temple. But how old, we have absolutely no idea. So this is the Peshum Perumal temple, definitely worth going over here. We are going to go all around Kanchipuram, this way and that, through the Vandavashi, from Kanchipuram to Vandavashi, from Kanchipuram to Uttaramerur. Let us understand that this is a very, very historic area. Sometimes we have this mindset, I don't know why this is there. When you think of Tamil Nadu, can I request the audience not to take any photographs and not to record or videograph this lecture, please? It's a request. When we think of temples of Tamil Nadu, we somehow think of Kumbakonam. It's as though all the temples of Tamil Nadu are in Kumbakonam. Let me tell you, North Tamil Nadu, traditionally known as Tondai Nadu or Tondai Mandalam, has some of the most beautiful temples everywhere. When we go everywhere in India, in Tamil Nadu, we have beautiful temples, and I'm going to concentrate on the North Tamil Nadu area for now. So from Kanchipuram, when you go on the Cheyyar road, in this place called Cheyyar, in ancient name is Tiruvottur, you have the Balaguchambikai Udaya Vedapurishwarar temple. Extremely ancient temple with a fairly modern Gopuram over here. Hey. Okay, so this is one of the Padal Petrasthanams. This is one of the temples that has been sanctified by the verses of the Nayanmars, 275, and Tirunjana Sambandar, the Nayanmar of the 7th century, came to this temple and has sung about it. So this is one thing, we always find this in books and websites, and I feel like correcting it. When you know that a saint, when a great person has come to this temple in a particular century, we date the temple to that century. Tirunjana Sambandar came to this temple in the 7th century, so it's a 7th century temple. Need not be. It could be a much, much older temple because this person knew about it already and then had come to visit it. It could be much older, it could be just slightly older, but definitely older than the 7th century for someone to have come over there. The other thing we need to understand this temple would not have looked anything like what it is today to the eyes of Tirunjana Sambandar. It would have been very different. It would have been a small brick temple, it may have been a small temple made of wood, something like that. And over time it has grown and grown and grown. Horizontal expansion has taken place, and you see the temple today, not just this one. Many of the temples in Tamil Nadu have been enlarged over time by successive kings, members of royalty, army generals, common people like us have all contributed to the architectural growth of temples. So this modern Gopuram is there to greet us. It's very tall. It's there. Tirunjana Sambandar came over here. See, these modern paintings sometimes are very garish. We don't like them at all. But then if you look at them, they also tell you about the Sthala Puranam of this temple. So it's also very important to study the Sthala Puranam because sometimes we are tempted not to believe them. But at the same time, we can't identify some of the sculptures in the temple if you don't know the Sthala Puranam. So it's very necessary to be conversant with the temple tradition. I don't call it temple mythology. I don't like this word mythology, it's a temple tradition. So as far as Tirunjana Samandar story here is concerned, what happened was a devotee apparently planted a number of palm trees in the vicinity of the temple, which is close to the river Chayar. It so happened that almost all these trees were male trees, and then they didn't bear fruit. The palm tree, the Panamaram. At that point of time, around the 7th century, there was a lot of rivalry between the Buddhists and the Jains and the people who followed the Vedantic tradition. So the Nayanmas and the Alvars and the Jains and the Buddhists didn't get along. It's a very historic thing. And Tirunjana Samandar went hammer and tongs against the Jains. That's also recorded history. So with his, and the Jains apparently made a lot of fun of this Bhakta who had planted a whole lot of male trees that wouldn't bear fruit. So Tirunjana Samandar went over there and he converted all these trees into fruit-bearing trees. Just to challenge them, because he had a lot of magical powers, Tirunjana Samandar. We all know right here in the Kapalishwara temple the miracle that he wrought. There was a lady named Poompavai and Tirunjana Samandar comes to this temple. Father of Poompavai wants Tirunjana Samandar to marry his daughter, but by the time Tirunjana Samandar comes, that girl is bitten by a snake and the father has to cremate her, and all he has to show to Tirunjana Samandar is a pot of ashes. And he sings a string of verses today called the Poompavai Padigam, and out of the ashes rises Poompavai. So that's the story. So he had these miraculous powers, and this is Tirunjana Samandar who has converted this palm tree into a fruit-yielding tree, and these are the Jains on the other side. So the whole lot of Sthala Puranams are there. Luckily, this is a modern mantapam in which it is. They have not ruined an ancient mantapam. So as you go into this temple, it's a fairly big temple. The prakaram is very wide. You go, this is the modern mantapam in which you have all these paintings, and it connects two gopurams. And this is the sacred tank, and which is called the Kalyana Koti Tirtham. It's very clean. There's some water. And then as you go along, you see again these Devakoshtas, very beautifully made, though not of 7th century vintage. And then you see people spoiling the walls like this. You know, the students should be told, if you kirkify on the walls, if you write your name or if you write your hall ticket number, definitely God will make you fail. You know, just if that goes around, I think it will work. So this is how you go around the inner prakaram of this temple. The very beautiful sculptures. The Ambal here, Goddess Parvati, is called Bala Kuchambikai Ambal. I don't have photographs of the gods in worship, of course, but very nice sculptures here, following the Vijayanagara style of sculpture and architecture, though this is not of the Vijayanagara period. If anybody can recognize this, this is Pulikal Munivar, Vyagrapada, whose sculpture is there in almost all the Shiva temples. You'll recognize him by being half man and half tiger, closely associated with the Chidambaram temple, because he asked God Shiva to have the feet of a tiger, to be able to climb the tallest trees, to get the fresh flowers for Shiva Puja. Many other devotees, Krishna is also here, a dancer, somebody in meditation, Rama, and then you go into this temple, and there is a modern sculpture, but yes, of the palm tree bearing fruits. So this is a real tradition in this temple. Lots of inscriptions of the Chola and the succeeding periods, Vijayanagara also. Loads of information that we get about the history of Thondai Mandalam, about contributions, donations. Let's not for a moment make a mistake that inscriptions are only loaded with religious information. There is not much about religion in inscriptions. They talk about donations, yes. You get, how will you know that the name of this place was Tiruvattur? Because it is from the inscriptions. How will you know the names of kings, ancient territorial subdivisions, geographical divisions, currency? For example, today we Just for example, I'm not talking about this temple in particular. For example, we use these words kashi and panam in Tamil, generic terms for money. How much kashi do you have? How much panam do you have? These were specific currencies in ancient times. Kashi meant something, panam meant another denomination. Over time it has changed and it has just become another term for money. That's all. Income. That's all. Now look at this window. It's made of one piece of stone. It's a pierced stone window. We miss all these gems in our hurry to go in and talk to the God. Not even talk to him, beg him for what we want. But let's have a look at how beautiful his house is. Whose hands were they who made these? Just look at that. What hard work. After finishing 99% of it, if there was, a lapse in concentration and he made a wrong chip with his chisel or whatever he had gone, that entire work would have ended up as a fault. A whole row of Nayanmars, as we have in our own Kapalishwarar temple, and this is how we do a Pradakshinam. One more Ganesha inside. Newer ones, not old ones, Dakshinamurti. As you go around Mahavishnu, then you have Brahma, and then you have Durga. So this is how the Vedapurishwara temple in Cheyyar looks. Brahma and then Durga over here. And this is the outer prakaram. As we go there, we see the palm trees, and this is the Stalavriksham of this temple. This is the sacred tree of this temple. And if you go a little closer, you'll find, these are modern of course, but Tirunjana Sambandar worshipping the Shivalingam, which is Vedapurishwarar, underneath the palm trees. Right? And we must understand the palm tree is the state tree of the government of Tamil Nadu. Everywhere you go, it's there, but in this entire area is simply full of Panamaram on the outskirts of Kanchipuram. So this is the Stalavriksham, and this is how the temple looks. Here, although they are modern, I have to tell you, there are 5 shrines. One for Chidambaranathar, one for Kalahastishwarar, one for Ekamaranathar, one for Arunachaleshwarar, and one for Jambukeshwarar. These are the 5 temples which are the Panchabhuta Sthalams of South India. So there is a shrine for each of them inside the rather vast campus of this Vedapurishwara temple, and a very old Nandi looking directly at Shiva over here. So we start from this little town called, overcrowded town called Cheyyar. We go slightly further. We come to a place called Kuranganil Muttam. That's the name. Kuranganil Muttam is the name. Again, a very, very ancient place. It's obviously all this was part of the Pallava area. Tirunjana Sambandar lived in the Pallava period, 7th century. So this is what you go to see in Kuranganil Muttam. I was told there is a Pallava period cave temple, and I was standing right outside this compound wall there, and I asked someone, where is the Goha Kovil? He said, here. I said, where? I couldn't see it. It's right there, over here. It's below ground level. This is how it is. And this is taken care of by the Archaeological Survey of India. Very clean, manicured lawns and all that. And this cow and I were the only ones there at that point of time. So this below, around ground level, was this piece of granite. And the Pallava architects and sculptors of the time of Mahendravarman Pallava in the 7th century literally left no stone unturned or uncarved. So what they did was they excavated the ground beneath over here and then turned this into a cave temple. Very, very beautifully done. And there are, as you can see, 3 entrances. There are 3 shrines inside. They are in disuse. There is no worship at all. If at all there was worship, there is no worship. Definitely it is of the period of Mahendravarman. Though you don't have Mahendravarman's inscription here, you don't have any Pallava inscription, but going by the size and the pattern of these pillars, a trained eye can tell you that it belongs to the 7th century of the time of Mahendravarman Pallava. By the time his son Narsimhavarman, the great Mamalla, came to the throne, his cave temples became slightly more well designed and more ornate. This is very Mahendravarman. So, there is, as I said, no Pallava inscription, but there is an inscription of a king whose name was Kannaradeva. He was a Rashtrakuta king. Now, who were these Rashtrakutas? Our history textbooks, of course, will not tell us anything. The Rashtrakutas were great rulers, emperors in Karnataka area. And their capital was a place called Manyaketa, and they had many a clash with the Cholas. And at one point of time, they almost successfully overran Tamil Nadu, though they didn't annex much of it. Kannaradeva's inscription is over here. It is slightly damaged, but I'll just read it out to you. காலியூர் கோட்டத்து ஏரிக்கீழ் நாட்டு பல்லவபுரத்து நேங்கலூர் கல்மடக்காத்தாழ்வாருக்கு கல்மடக்காத்தார் ஆழ்வாருக்கு ஆழ்வார். So today in our minds an Alvar is one of the 12 Vaishnavite saints who went from temple to temple singing the glory of Vishnu, Nammalvar, Andal, Tirmangyalvar, etc. In ancient times, Alvar was a name given to Vishnu himself. Something Alvar. The suffix Alvar was given to Vishnu. Even today, the Vaishnavites in this audience may be able to understand Sudarshana, the personification of the chakra of Vishnu, is called Chakra Talvar in Vishnu temples. That suffix Alvar is there. So now a very great archaeologist named K.R. Srinivasan has this to say. He says, just because that name Alvar is there, let's not assume that this temple was meant for Vishnu. He says, just maybe one shrine was meant for Vishnu. Look at the Dwarapalakas. There are 2 Dwarapalakas for this sanctum. There is nothing inside. This is a modern image that's kept over here. Look at the middle shrine. This, according to Sri K.R. Srinivasan, may have been for Shiva, because if you notice this Dwarapalaka, he has a horn over here. Horned Dwarapalakas are known in Shiva temples, especially ancient Shiva temples. The horn indicates that he is Nandi. And Nandi is the guardian of Mount Kailash, Shiva's abode. So many temples do have Nandi as the Dwarapalaka. This could be Nandi, and this, according to him, could be for Shiva. And therein there is one more shrine for one more deity. We don't know. See, this Peetam is there. What should have been there? It's completely empty. But anyway, there is the inscription that I mentioned over here. And this is definitely a very, very historic structure, this Kuranganil Muttam temple. And next to it is again a Padal Petrasthalam, a Shiva temple to which we are going to go. And there is the Sthala Puranam, which clearly tells us that a Kurangu, monkey, and an Anil, a squirrel, and Muttam is Kakai, a crow, worship Shiva over there. So it is called Kuranganil Muttam. But K.R. Srinivasan says, no, that's a very, very new name. It had come much later. And this is what he has to say, and I'm quoting. Perhaps the original name was Kurakeni Muttam, where Kurakeni would mean a cell or a vault below the ground, like this. Muttam would be the natural high ground or mound into which the temple had been sunk. This was perhaps corrupted into Kurangani Muttam and later into Kuranganil Muttam, which led to the legend of the monkey and the squirrel and the crow worshipping the god. So this is what he says. Likely, I don't know. But quickly to take you to a round of, this is Mahendravarman's cave temple. Just to take you through history of cave temples of Mahendravarman, this is in a place called Mandakapattu, supposed to be the earliest of Mahendravarman's cave temples. Over here, these are all under the Archaeological Survey of India, the Dwarapalaka and Mandakapattu. This, I'm sorry, the image is not showing clearly. This is in a place called Mamandur, which is not at all far from Kuranganil Muttam, very rocky area, and this is in Mamandur. Some unfinished ones are there. All this is in Mamandur. Loads of granite rock, and the Dwarapalakas here look very similar to the ones in Kuranganil Muttam. And we have Malakota, Trichy, Rock Fort, which you are all very familiar with. And as you are going up to this Uchipuliyar Kovil up there, en route you have a Mahendravarman period cave temple where, though dedicated to God Shiva, The main image is not a Shivalingam, but it's Shiva as God Gangadhara himself. God is Ganga descending from the heavens and getting locked in the strand of hair of Shiva, and this is how it looks. This is Pallava Mahendravarman, his own poem. This great king was a poet, and he wrote this poem, which is inscribed in Grantha script, Sanskrit language, and later period inscriptions are also here in that rock fort temple. Very quickly to take you, not too far from Kanchipuram, near Arakonam is a place called Mahendravadi, reminiscent of the fact that it was created by Mahendravarman, again under the care of the Archaeological Survey of India. This is a monolithic rock cut temple. From the main road, you don't even realize where you're going. You come in like that, you see that boulder, you keep going, and then you see this. There was just one little rock there, which the architects have turned into a temple for Vishnu. It was called Mahendra Vishnu Griham. I'm just taking you around. Just that's all that was there. They created that into a temple. Great architects, great sculptors these were. And why we are here is, among all these lovely patterns, sculptures on the pillars, is also an inscription that you see here. Gives the name of this place, gives the name that this is the Mahendra Vishnu Griham, and although very damaged, this is a modern sculpture inside. This inscription tells you that there is here a Mahendra Tataka. Tataka is a lake or a pond or water body. And that Mahendra Tataka is named after Mahendravarman. You just have to go down the road, and it's one of the largest water bodies, man-made water bodies ever created. The Pallavas and the Pandyas and the Cholas, I'm just talking about South India, I'm talking only about Tamil Nadu now, created huge artificial lakes and tanks for storage of water. This is miles long and miles broad. Unfortunately, in a decrepit state, it was meant for storage of water, and this picture says it all. When it rains, you go by boat. When it doesn't rain, it's so barren, you can use your motorcycle. It's very sad. It should never be dry. It should always be filled with water, because in ancient times, India had such a wonderful water harvesting technique. There were inlets which would come from some storage catchment area. It would bring water into these lakes. And there was an outlet at one point, because if it became too full, it would flood the villages around. So the water went out through the outlets. But where would it go? Not into the adjoining villages. Whether the outlet was above the ground or below the ground, it would go into another small lake or tank at a lower level. When that got filled up, it would go into another one. Hardly any water was allowed to go to waste. But you can't just keep a lake or a tank like that. Dredging must be done. It must be cleaned. The outlets and the inlets must be desilted. No, all that doesn't happen. From the British time onwards, we let all of this go. And that's the Sholingur hill that you see in the backdrop over there. So that's from Kanchipuram. So I deviated a lot. I'll come back to Kuranganilmuttam just now, just to show you what the Pallavas did for water harvesting. And now we are going to come to this Kuranganilmuttam temple. It is for Valishwara. This is also a Padal Petrastalam. Tiruniyana Sambandar went to all the Shiva temples possible. He was like Tirumangai Alvar from the Vaishnavite side. They visited that many temples. This has also been modernized beyond a point. This is the Nandi, ancient Nandi that's sitting there, and a sculpture. So you have Vali here as a Kurangu worshipping the Shivalinga of the Kuranganilmuttam. Vali, it's called Valishwara, this temple. And then you have Yama as a crow. He was supposed to be a crow worshipping here. And then you have Vayu as the Anil worshipping over here also. This is what you have in this temple. Completely modernized, but a very, very ancient temple. It's got a semicircular water body. The kulam of this temple is semicircular, simply because Yama, as a crow, is said to have drawn a line. These are all Sthala Puranams, we believe it. We've never seen a temple tank halfway across the temple like that. I'll show it to you. Ancient temples with Chola and later period inscriptions over here. It is also said that Vali didn't pluck flowers for worship. He just shook a tree and the flowers dropped on the Shivalinga. And for that reason, this Valishwara is also called Koyya Malarnathar. Means the flowers that were not plucked for his worship, they just fell on him, and that is Vali's way of worshipping. It is the 6th of the 32 Padal Petrasthalams over here. And all this is a Chola period inscription over here on which is a pipe. Just to show you what we do. The sacred tree is the Ilandai, the Badari in Sanskritam. That's the sacred tree of this temple. And this is how the temple tank looks. It's not square, it's not rectangular. It goes around the temple, and this is said to have been done by Yama. I'm showing you a beautiful picture. I took it off the net. This is not mine. We are going from Kuranganilmuttam to the next village, which is called Dushi. Next to Dushi is Mamandur. Collectively, they are called Dushi Mamandur because there's another Mamandur also. So, to recognize this Mamandur, they call it Dushi. One village is called Dushi, one village is called Mamandur. Close by is this beautiful irrigation tank. Today, it's called the Dushi Mamandur Lake. Again, it was created in the Pallava period. It was called the Chithra Madhavan. That was the name of this. Again huge, again Pallava, again a water body. So we are going to this village called Dushi. And in Dushi, you have a wonderful Vaikunthavasa Perumal temple for Vishnu. But let me tell you why it's called Dushi. Dushi as in dust. It's a very nice name. We are very close to a place called Bandavashi. From Dushi, Bandavashi is not too far. And in our history textbooks, have you heard of a war of Vandavash? Vandivash. So we learned British history very well. And we've forgotten local history completely. And this battle of Vandivash, can this enlightened audience tell me, was between who and who? The British and the French. Ayr Coot and Count Delali. So that was we know all these facts very well. And the British won the war and they took over Pondicherry, and Count Delali lost the war and the French were weakened, and the date of that war was 22nd January 1760. All this comes from my history textbook I've written. But we don't know. So there was the marching of the armies of the French and the British from Kanchipuram to Vandavashi created such a lot of dust that this place came to be called Dushi. So that's how this place got its name. It was called Shatakopapuram. That was the ancient name, because it is said that the first preceptor of Ahobila Matam stayed here for some time, and his name was Adivan Shatakopan, so it got the name Shatakopapuram. It was a Chaturvedi Mangalam, a place peopled with scholars proficient in the 4 Vedas. So this is how the temple is today, completely modernized. A few inscriptions have been found here. Luckily, they are still preserved. I've seen them on the walls of the temple recently, and one of which belongs to a Raja, a king named Kampavarman. He was one of the last Pallava rulers before the Pallavas lost the war to the Cholas, and the Cholas completely took over the northern part of Tamil Nadu called Thondai Mandalam. Let us remember, where we are in Chennai, an entire North Tamil Nadu has a very, very historic past. All these places that I'm talking to you about are literally soaked and steeped in history, except that we've done our level best to modernize most things. It was there in the earliest historical period of Tamil Nadu. The Sangam age mentions this northern part of Tamil Nadu, Thondai Nadu, Thondai Mandalam. The Pallavas were here in all their glory, ruling from Kanchipuram as their focal point over entire North Tamil Nadu. Then the Cholas took over. Kanchipuram became a stronghold of the Cholas. Many of these temples were either built like the Gangekonda Cholishwaram temple that I told you, or renovated, made grander, added to by the Cholas. And then the Pandyas took over. Yes, the Pandyas of Madurai were ruling all over North Tamil Nadu. And then there were some invasions. Then Vijayanagara came in all its grandeur. We've done away with the series on Vijayanagara architecture. True, but every part of Tamil Nadu will speak Vijayanagara architecture, sculpture, inscriptions in one way or the other, because they so protected the northern part of Tamil Nadu. Anyway, coming back to this Dushi temple, the goddess is called Santanavali Tayar. Here she is. very modernized. This is the Vaikunthanatha temple in Dushi, and this is how this temple looks today. Very, very ancient temple. You can see that it was a Pallava temple. It is not a Divya Desham, not sanctified by the verses of the Alvars, but extremely, extremely historic. One of the inscriptions of Rajaraja Chola is also found over here. So this is the Dushi temple. Very much in active worship. From here, these are all parts of the Vimanam that I'm showing you, and some of the ancient inscriptions. Luckily, they have not been painted over as yet. The rest, top and bottom, are all modern. The inscription alone is there. As you drive along the outskirts of Kanchipuram to Cheyyar, to Uttarmerur, etc., it's still very pure. It's beautiful. You can see all of this. And we go to the next village called Mamandur. This is where you found that cave temple that I showed you. Again, an ancient temple, but all vestiges of antiquity have been totally wiped out. And all you have is a modern temple, save this little Deepa Stambham, which is made of one pillar of stone, where a fire would have been lit on top to illuminate the temple in the pre-electricity days. And this is how the god over here looks. This is the Mamandur temple, Lakshmi Narayana temple. This is Lakshmi Narayana Murti, the main image in active worship. But anyway, this is also an ancient temple, is all that I want to tell you. And the Alvars and the Acharyas of the Sri Vaishnavite tradition are in worship. It doesn't get more modern than this. Okay, so from here we go to a place called Magaral. And this is on the Kanchi Uttarameru route. If you want to see a really ancient temple, and it is still very ancient, go to Magaral. So very Chola. Once again, one of the Padal Petrasthalams, the Nayanmars came here. Trinyana Sambandar came here to Magaral. It's not Magaral, it's Magaral. Thirumagalishwara temple. Tribhuvana Nayaki is the goddess over here. And this is a photo of the Shivalingam. So the Shivalingam is very small, very, very small for a temple that's very big. It's also conical, as you can see over here. Now, Magaralishwara temple is a new name. Magaral is supposed to be, I did a lot of research, I couldn't find out what Magaral actually means. Corrupted form of Makara, which is an aquatic creature in Sanskrit. It is also said that over here, Shiva appeared as a monitor lizard, an Udumbu, and as they were going to catch him, he disappeared into the earth. This is the Sthala Puranam, I am repeating, and this is the tail of the monitor lizard that is left behind as the Shivalingam. But this is how this temple looks. Very big, very grand, Padal Petrasthalam, Stirnyana Sambandar, which means 7th century, but made this big, this beautiful in the Chola period. It's still unpainted. The main Vimanam over here, this is a Gaja Prishta Vimanam, meaning that the back looks like the back of a sleeping elephant. Tamil, it's called the Tunganai Madam. This is how it looks. And we go into the Magaral temple. It's a very, very tall Gopuram, fairly ancient. And this is how the temple premises looks. Vast, vast prakaram. Lots of inscriptions here. This is called the Agni Tirtham. This is as you enter the temple. And lots of water. Because of the connection with the Udumbu, right up there on the Gopuram, you can see a monitor lizard also. So how would you account for a monitor lizard sitting there on top of a Gopuram if you didn't know the Sthala Puranam? So it's also very necessary. Ancient Nandi looking directly at Shiva. See, the other thing is, when you climb up steps to go into a temple, the sides are called the balustrades. This is a technical term. We climb up and down, we don't look at the sides. The sides also sometimes have very nice sculptures, especially the Chola temples. So these are the ancient Chola period Dwarapalakas, and we go around like this. Very, very, very Chola. Not under the ASI, but still the temple is fairly well kept. This is Ganesha over here. You have Dakshinamurti, and look at this. One of the tallest, one of the biggest Gajaprishta Vimanams that I have seen. Completely Chola, with all the, see, this is what I meant when I told you about that first temple in Kuramandal, that was all stone. Here it's not all stone. Up to here it's granite, and from here it's brick and lime plaster. This is Sudai. So this is the difference I'm trying to make. There are only some temples which have all stone Vimanam. And the best known, the biggest known among them are, of course, the ones in Tanjavur, Gangaikonda Cholapuram, Dharasuram, and Tribhuvanam. There are many others also. Yes, there are many others. However, most temples have the stone base up to here, and then on top it is brick and stucco. I repeat that. So all this that you're seeing on top are made of lime plaster, Sudai stucco, and painted over, susceptible to breakage, and they do break. Gajaprishta Vimanams you can find small in size and big in size. This is one of the biggest. Right at the back you have Mahavishnu. Some of the more ancient Shiva temples, as you do a circumambulation, as you do a pradakshinam, you will definitely, and the Devakoshta, as I've explained to you, you will see Ganesha, and then you will see Dakshinamurti, depending on the direction in which the temple faces. As you come to the back, you will see Mahavishnu like this. In some later period temples, Mahavishnu was replaced by Lingodbhavamurti. All right? So this is how this very beautiful temple looks. I'm sorry, it's repeating. Sorry about that. Oh, sorry, I was going back. And this is how it is. This Magaral, very, very nice temple. Ancient name, according to inscriptions, this was situated in Magaral Nadu, which is a subdivision of Eyil Kotam, in a place called Jayam Konda Chola Mandalam. All this you get over here. Many, many inscriptions belonging to the time of Kulotunga Chola, Rajaraja Chola, Rajaraja Chola III, Jatavarman Sundarapandya, Vijayanagara rulers Kumara Kampanna, Devaraya, and a Telugu Choda chieftain Vijaya Gandagopala. In case in any magazine or any book you come across this word Choda, Choda, please don't think that it's a typo, it's an error. It's Choda. There were chieftains called the Telugu Chodas ruling from Kanchipuram, among whom one of the best rulers was called Vijaya Gandagopala. And as far as our subject is concerned, temple history, architecture, sculpture, Vijaya Gandagopala's contribution even to the temples in the city of Chennai was awesome. That many contributions he has done, especially by way of donation. So we see Brahma here. We go around, many ancient inscriptions here. And then you see Durga, very Chola in worship. And then you still have people playing the ancient musical instruments over here. This temple is particularly, well known for, it's a praying to Shiva here is supposed to cure people of bone-related diseases. It's a very well-known tradition as far as this temple is concerned. This is not a Vijayanagara period Gopuram, but it does have on one side goddess Ganga and another side goddess Yamuna, and we are actually going through the waters of the river Ganga and Yamuna. This practice was made very famous in the Vijayanagara period. There is a small door in this Gopuram, and this is where the people who recite Devaram in this temple keep their books. Nice quaint door, and the Gopura Vashal is also very nice. And this is how the entrance to the Magaral temple looks. Honestly, I tell you, I've hardly ever felt so transported in time coming off the main road into the Magaral temple. And here is Nandi wishing you to come in. We are still down the road in Magaral, and there is a Vishnu temple. In all ancient town planning, you have one Vishnu and one Shiva temple over here, and we have Veetrirunda Perumal. This is also an ancient temple, not a Divya Desham. The Alvars didn't visit it, but you have inscriptions of Rajaraja Chola III, very much a Chola period temple, and this is how it looks today. In a very, very poor condition, I'm afraid, but here it is. We go into this temple. The goddess is called Kamalavalli Tayar. Temple faces east. And this is how it looks. Very, very ancient. This is what we miss when we go on the highways. If we go off and we go into the interiors of our land, we find these many temples. Nothing great to write about, but I'm just bringing it to your attention. As you go from Kanchi to Uttaramerur, you can see all this. This is the Vetrirunda Perumal temple over here. This is how he looks inside. It's a huge image seated with Sridevi and Bhudevi on either side. Now this is, I'll end with this. Many people may know about it. Again, we are going from Kanchi to Vandavashi. This place is called Iyengar Kulam. Far better known than the other temples. This is a Vishnu temple belonging to the Vijayanagara times of the 17th century. This is the main deity. This is a very rare temple where the presiding deity is Hanuman. And only Hanuman is there in this temple. The Utsava Murti of this Hanuman is kept in a local village for safety reasons. It's very, very lonely, this place. This is the Rama Vigraham as Utsava Murti, but main Moolavar is only Hanuman. This is the Utsava Murti which is in a village. This temple is known for a very important thing. The fact that there was a person called Etur Lakshmi Kumara Tatachar, who was like a spiritual guru. What like? He was a spiritual guru to one of the later Vijayanagara emperors called Venkata II. And Etur Lakshmi Kumara Tatachar did the coronation of this Vijayanagara emperor, who was not an active ruler over northern Tamil Nadu. This Tatachar virtually ruled over this entire Kanchipuram area as though it was his kingdom, lived in Kanchipuram. His contribution to the Varadaraja Perumal temple in Kanchipuram is legendary. He was the Sri Karyam, or the official manager of the temple, and it is said that as he was travelling from Kanchipuram in this area, his palanquin and his group of people were attacked by robbers. They wanted to steal whatever he had and attack them. He was a very great devotee of Hanuman and also a very great Sanskrit scholar. So on the spur of the moment, he composed a poem on Hanuman, which is called the Hanumad Vimshati. And this is inscribed in the Varadaraja Perumal temple in Kanchipuram and also on the walls of this, which is called the Sanjeevi Rayar temple, Hanuman temple, in this place called Iyengar Kulam. I'll come to the temple soon, but then just a short distance from this temple, you have this arch. It's made of granite, belongs to the Vijayanagara period of the same time, and you can get down. This has got a famous name. This is called the Nadavavi. Vapi is like a well. This is called the Nadavapi, and you go down this, and there is a room. There is a big room down there as you get down. And on most days of the year, it's absolutely dry. Just before Chithra Purnami, it's filled with water. And Varadaraja Perumal from Kanchipuram on the night of Chithra Purnami comes over here. He's taken down into the Nadavavi and he's kept there and worship is offered. This is something very rare which is not done anywhere else. So we are going into the Iyengar Kulam temple, but look at this. This is completely Vijayanagar, and this is vintage Vijayanagar, where the whole thing is one piece of stone. You know, this part, that part, everything made of one piece of stone, which is very difficult. And then this temple has a tank, not just an ordinary kulam, not just an ordinary pushkarini. This is miles wide and miles broad. And the name of this is Tatha Samudram. Samudram, as you all know, is an ocean, and because it belonged to Etur Lakshmi Kumara Tatachar, it's called Tatha Samudram. And again, the temple tradition over here is he's Sanjeevi Rayar. Remember this Hanuman who has the Sanjeevi Mala? It is said that when he was crossing over to Sri Lanka with this Mala in his hand, a piece dropped over here. And therefore, nobody in this area, according to the tradition here, is ever affected by the bites of snakes or any other poisonous creature. Very little water over here, but you can see how enormous this tank is. We are coming into the temple. This is how it looks. This is how you climb down and go into the Tatha Samudram, and the temple per se, a huge one, the entrance of which has a Gajalakshmi. This is something made of one piece of stone for storing water in those days. How beautifully they chiseled and carved it. And this is the Vimanam of this temple, modernized. And these are the verses of the Hanumad Vimshati, the beautiful poem on Hanuman. This is in the Grantha script, in the Sanskrit language over here. 4 pillared mantapas like this, when Utsavams used to be held very, very often for Hanuman and Rama, but unfortunately almost very little Utsavams over here. This is how you go into the Nadavavi, right down at the bottom. This is how it is. So this is a Vijayanagara. Very few temples in Tamil Nadu, I repeat, are 100% Vijayanagar. This temple in Ayangar Kulam is. And this is how the village looks, very, very rustic. So if you come from Kanchipuram, you go on the Uttarameru road, you go on the Vandavashi road, you go on the Cheyyar road, wherever you go, it's chock full of historical temples. These are all the small ones that I have shown. In the next lecture, we'll go to some small ones. We'll also go to some very, very historic, rather big temples, like the one in Uttaramerur itself, which if you have been to the Besan Nagar Ashtalakshmi Kovil, I don't know whether many of you have done it, it's in 3 levels, and that is actually a miniature. It's a copy of one of the most splendid architectural creations of the Pallavas, and that is the Sundara Varada Perumal temple in Uttaramerur, and we'll see that. And next to that, there is a small temple. I'll tell you why it's not really a temple, and where one of the most historical inscriptions of Tamil Nadu on democracy is. All that, some big and small temples mixed together, all very historic, will happen in the next lecture. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please ask. No questions? Yeah, please. Oh, when he was attacked by the bandits, I forgot that. So he immediately composed this Hanumad Vimshati and they ran away. And he gave money for the building of this temple. Sorry, I omitted that. Yes, please. Yeah. Kuranganil Muttam. Just give me a second, please. I could get only parts of it, and you must remember that it's a little dry now, so this is not rectangular. It goes around the temple. This one, I could get only one angle because the compound wall didn't have gaps for me to take it. Suppose this is the temple, this podium, it comes around like that. It's like a crescent. It's very rare to see a temple tank like that. Yes, please. Gangaikonda Cholapuram is the town. Gangaikonda Chola was Rajendra because he brought the waters of the Ganga when he sent an expedition all the way to Bengal, defeated the Pala rulers of the Pala dynasty, and got the Ganga water in pots. So he was called Gangaikonda Chola. The town that he created, his new capital, was called Gangaikonda Cholapuram, the fortified city of Gangaikonda Chola. The temple that he built today is called the Brihadishwara temple. It's called Gangaikonda Cholishwaram, the Ishwara temple of Gangaikonda Chola. So the same name was given to this one in this place called Kuramandal, which was built by Rajendra's guru, Ishana Shiva. Yes. Perhaps many more that I don't know of. Yes, please.
I thought your lecture was fantastic.
Thank you.
I just have a very practical question. Why are some temples which are ancient painted so garishly? Is there no body that oversees the upkeep which keeps it consistent across?
Well, you see, in ancient times, all our temples were painted. That's a given. But the colors they used were those subtle, muted colors, like you have your kalamkari colors. These are organic paints with organic material. But you see, in those times, the king sponsored the maintenance of temples. So the locals themselves contributed to the maintenance of the temples. There was pride, and there was that kind of money because there was pride. And so the temples were all beautifully painted, but organic color can wash away very easily, and they were repeatedly painted. And then there's something called chemical paint came into this world, and the temples ran out of royal sponsorship, and we lost what is called local village autonomy that was there in the Chola times. I'll talk about it at length in my next lecture. We lost all of that. Many of these temples are now under the government, and it's not only here, it's all over. I feel in India, as a country, we have lost much of a sense of aesthetics. So much so that we are not able to build anything as beautiful, we are not even able to maintain things that are beautiful. We seem to have lost something over the years. I don't know if it will come back. Yes, please. Again, that lack of aesthetics is what I'm talking about. This is Srirangam Gopuram is another story altogether. There is, among the 21 Gopurams of Srirangam, only one is painted white. It's called the Vellai Gopuram, and that is named after a lady called Vellayammal, a Devadasi in that temple. When the temple had fallen on bad times in the 14th century, when it was invaded, and there was a governor who was, part of the temple, he was living there. The Devadasi, the people obviously didn't want the temple under them. It was the invasion of Ulugh Khan, who was going to be Muhammad bin Tughlaq. It was under his control. And the Devadasi wanted to get rid of this governor, and so she lured him up that Gopuram, and she pushed him down, and he died. That's what she wanted. But she was so overwrought by what she had done, she also jumped down and she died. And the temple authorities, to cut a very long story short, the temple authorities were very beholden to her for what she had done. And because her name was Vellayammal, they painted the Gopuram white. It is continued over the years to be painted white in honor of that great lady. Welcome. Sorry? One among the last Pallava kings was Kampavarman. The king who was defeated by Vijayalaya Chola was Aparajita. Kampavarman and Aparajita were of the same time. Anybody else? Yes, please. Durga? Durga will be there in a Devakoshta in almost all the Shiva temples of Tamil Nadu. She is worshipped in homes also. Surely we do recite some slokas for Goddess Durga. Kali is not. Kali is different, Durga is different. Durga is worshipped in homes. We do chant many slokas for Goddess Durga. This Ayigiri Nandini is a very famous sloka. Yes, Nikhil, you have a question?
So, does Thondai Mandalam covers today's Vellore, Tiruvannamala, Viluppuram, Kadalur?
Yeah, almost all of North India comes under, Tamil Nadu comes under Thondai Mandalam. Much bigger area comes under Tondai Mandalam. It's a very big area, Tondai Nadu.
So it includes Vellore, Ranipet, Tirupattur.
It's very close to Kanchipuram, no? Vellore? Vellore is very close to. Huh?
I meant Vellore.
Vellore, where the Jalakanteshwara temple is.
So the entire belt from the Tamil Nadu Andhra Pradesh border till say about Peramballur would be considered
Yeah, from the Tamil Nadu Andhra Pradesh border, south is Tondai Mandalam.
till about say Peramballur.
Today's, you can't draw a line and say this is where Tondai Mandalam stopped. In today's this thing, I would not be able to tell you, but much of North Tamil Nadu was the ancient Tondai Mandalam.
Because I saw the Chola Nadu is basically as Peramballur, Ariyalur, Trichy, Tanjavur as what they call Chola Nadu. That's their headquarters.
The general thing is, our mid is Chola Nadu, and then near Madurai is Pandya Nadu. But as I told you, we can't. Sorry? That is the Coimbatore Salem area is Kongu Nadu. These are general divisions. We can't, as I say, draw a line now and say Tondai Nadu ended here, Chola Nadu started here. That's very difficult to. We don't have that kind of exact measurements.
So which districts are today covered?
Today's district names are changing by the day, so I don't know which district stops with Tondai Mandalam and which district starts with Chola Mandalam. I'm not in a position. Half a district may be Chola Mandalam, half a district may be. I'm not able to tell you exactly where it stopped. It's a general thing, Nikhil. North Tamil Nadu would be Tondai Mandalam, and then Chola Mandalam starts. We can't give it very exactly, at least I can't. Yes, please.
In one of the shows that you said that most Shiva temples in the Devakoshas, there will always be a Vishnu.
Yes. No, I said, you caught the point. So, in many of the older Shiva temples, as you go around, do the pradakshina, the niche that is directly behind the main image, in the ancient Shiva temples will be Vishnu Murti. Later you will find that Vishnu, that niche has the Lingodbhava Murti.
So the opposite that in Perumal Kovils there will be a Shiva Murti is
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Yes, please.
Thanks for the great session. And follow up to the question on cash paintings. I myself have noticed several temples, both under ASI as well as Chithra and CE, being painted over for their inscriptions and existing niches and everywhere with both whitewashing and enamel painting. Is there a regulatory central authority now that everything is being centralized now, and the villagers don't really have a say in what is being done to the temple itself? So, have the government or the governing bodies have they taken note of the laws of aesthetics and laws of inscriptions as well? And is there anything that's being done to correct this?
So the temples that are under the ASI will have their inscriptions intact. They will not be painted over with enamel paint or with anything else. That won't happen. The other temples, as I said, what damage has been done has been done. But yes, now there is definitely more awareness, and we hope more awareness will come. I'm being as diplomatic as possible, as you can see. Yes, please. Yes, you, ma'am. Yeah.
There is a similarity in the Jarokas of Rajasthan and the lattice.
Yes, absolutely.
Similarity or just a pure artisan take of what they felt of it?
Completely something aesthetic. That's all. You needed to ventilate the inside of a temple in the absence of air conditioners and fans. So some of the garbhagrahas and the mantapas had these lovely stone windows.
Thank you. Next time you'll be more observant. I've never noticed it as much.
They are there. They are there, waiting for us to look through them. Yes, please. I don't know, sir. Yeah, I don't know about that, sir. I don't. Yes?
Yes, you see, history students would always be, kind of, they will free to do all these things on a voluntary basis. As we see in Tamil Nadu, we don't have anybody to explain like as you did. Great stuff. So, is there any voluntary organization which is going to take up like all this? History students, as part of their course, should walk us through the
The problem is much bigger than this. So, over the years, we have not had a proper history syllabus, and I feel very pained to think that in a country with 5,000 years of recorded history like India, it's very interesting history, very interesting, alive it is. How we have managed to make the subject so dull and boring that every child runs from school saying, I hate history, and man, just wanting to drop it in the 10th standard. I can't believe we've done this. We've really done this subject in. It's a wonderful, wonderful subject. See, like we know this Vandivash battle, but do we know anything about Tondai Mandalam? We don't know anything about local history. This is the problem. Should get a child interested in local history and then work their way up to world history. This is how I feel it should be done, but then a lone voice in the wilderness is not going to help. But no, there aren't many organizations which are taking children out into museums and to historic places. If they do, the child will fall in love with history. You go to places like these cave temples, you go to Kuranganil Muttam and show a child as a young student this cave temple, it will be a great excursion. And no, this doesn't happen. Yes?
These temple inscriptions that are there, is it available anywhere where it's translated for all of us to read and understand?
Yeah, good question. So what the Archaeological Survey of India has done is, they have a separate branch called the Epigraphy Division, which was in Ooty and later shifted to Mysore. It is still in Mysore. These people have done great work in going to monument after monument after monument and recording these inscriptions over very, very many years. So there is a series of books called the Annual Report of Epigraphy, ARE, where they divide it into districts, into states, into districts, and the columns telling you which temple, which wall of the temple, which language the inscription is, which king's reign it belongs to, and the gist of the inscription. So that is a series called the ARE. And then you have another series called South Indian Inscriptions, where in the first few volumes, they had the text of the inscription as well as the translation. But slowly they found that to give translation for all these inscriptions is taking a lot of time, and they need to publish the text very fast. So the rest of the volumes of South Indian inscriptions have the text only and the gist of what that inscription contains. So that's another series called South Indian Inscriptions. And then you have one called Epigraphia Indica, which has inscriptions from all over India. You have another one called Epigraphia Karnataka. So these are all publications which have seen to it that most of the inscriptions in the country have been recorded and kept safely. But if you want to see what are called estamp pages, that you want to see the inscription itself, which has been copied on paper and kept very carefully, you have to go to Mysore, to the office of the chief epigraphist. But in recent months, the Tamil inscriptions have come to Tamil Nadu. So these are all the volumes. A lot is available on the net also now. Welcome. Yes?
Everywhere we see only perfect statues and things. Suppose they have made a mistake. Are there no unfinished ones, damaged, failures? We never see them.
I've always wondered, maybe the people who made these were the experts. You would call the best of the best to make your sculptures for the temples. But what did the young sculptors, they must have worked on something, and where are those pieces that are not really great, is what you're asking. I've been asking this question for a very long time and I haven't found an answer. When I do, I'll get back to you. That it? Thank you all.